Have you heard of the term water piracy? Officials are using it to describe a developing concern here in the Brazos Valley. Out-of-state entities are looking at using resources from our local aquifers, and the city of Bryan is pushing back. And here to tell us more about that is Bryan Mayor Bobby Gutierrez. Thank you so much for being here
Absolutely.
today.
My pleasure to be here.
We wanted to get a little bit more background. Tell us more about what you've learned when it comes to water potentially being taken from our area and kind of those concerns that you've brought forward.
Sure. Well, this is one thing that's not just the city of Bryan. It's Texas A&M is leading the suit that we have against the not groundwater district, but against the entities trying to transport this water out. It's Bryan, it's College Station, it's Brazos County all together collectively to make sure we could protect this resource. We have an out-of-state entity, Upwell, that's based out of San Francisco, backed by some New York fundraisers and money to build a pipeline to send to Georgetown to effectively use up our water and our aquifer here. The city of Bryan, College Station, Brazos County, Texas A&M, Hearn, Calvert, Franklin, we use a little less or a little right at about 50,000 acre-feet per year. Effectively, if they get what they want, they'll be able to take another 100,000. Basically, it'll be triple what we're taking out of our aquifer now. We have an aquifer that's about 150,000 acre-feet of water, and this is kind of what I'd say the water piracy. This is taking it out of our area for someone else's economic development, and that's stopping our development. Both of our cities, our county, the cities to the north of us, Hearn, Calvert, Franklin, we have to have 50-year water conservation plans to make sure we have water for our citizens for 50 years out. We've done a very good job. Our plan goes beyond 50 years. But with them taking this water out, if they can get these permits that they're trying to transport this water out, this will make our 50-year conservation plan anywhere from 6 to 10-year plan. So at that point, we'll have to bring water in from other entities, and we'll just have to figure out that at that point, our costs go up, our farmers, our ranchers suffer, all the things that we have here as far as economic development will have to be halted. This is basically pirating our water, taking it to another area for their growth.
Are we already seeing our area be impacted by other people trying to take resources from our area?
Well, if you look at and there's 7 basin aquifers that are kind of all interrelated. We're one of them, the Simsboro, but there's an aquifer just to our west over here in Burleson County, Milam County, that they're doing that to right now. That water's being transported to San Antonio. The same type of thing, you're seeing some of these farmers and ranchers now, these wells, these private lands that are out in the ETJ there that have no water. They're having to go into town, take baths, pick up water to take back to their cattle and for their operations, or they're having to lower their wells. So to drill a water well is very expensive for an individual, even more so for a jurisdiction for like a city or one of our other agencies.
How does this work? When we talk about these out-of-state entities wanting to take resources from our area, how is that process allowed or not allowed?
Well, we have the right of capture here, and we're a pro-property rights state. I'm very pro-property rights. Our family we've been ranching and farming for multiple generations down in South Texas. We own water, we own ranches. It's one of those things too. We're not allowing, or not allowing you to use your water, or not to even sell it, but you have to have some kind of conservation plan. The outside entities, they don't have to have a conservation plan. We have to provide as a city, a jurisdiction, a 50-year plan. With them, they don't. They just pump out as much as they can. And it's a shared resource. So how does one landowner's rights outweigh the next landowner's right who wants to conserve? There's no limitations for conserve. There's no incentives to conserve. Whoever gets the water out the fastest, the quickest, gets the most amount of money. So this is what I always say, it's a race to the bottom of the well, or it's a race to get as much as you can to exploit as much money as you can out of that resource.
Now, is there any benefit to kind of creating a partnership with these out-of-state entities? Is there any benefit to letting them take our resources, and do we get anything in return?
We don't get anything in return for that. Now, they've offered at one point, they said, well, they'll reserve 20,000 acre-feet for us here at the city, to be able to supply our citizens for water, but we already have that water. It's already in our aquifer, and they're not going to give it to us for free. They're going to sell that to us. So if the citizens, they need to get involved. They need to be up to date with what's going on. Landowner rights are very important to me, but also with conservation, you have to assume some responsibility for the people who you surround and live and utilize that aquifer over. That aquifer supplies Robertson County and Brazos County, and this really, our economic development will stop. We have planned growth for multiple decades, And you know, we're growing fast. I mean, the whole Texas Triangle is growing fast. I get it, but there's other options that Georgetown has. There's probably 4 or 5, maybe even more options than that that they can get water from. This is just one right now that these companies have gone in. They're going to build this pipeline because they can exploit it. They can take the water out very quick, and they can make a lot of money doing that. But at the same time, it affects us, and we're going to do everything we can to stop that.
Well, you mentioned getting involved. You mentioned that the city, the county, College Station, Bryan, everyone's starting to take action on this, has been taking action on this. What are the different ways that you all are taking action, as well as our community members, that how can they take action?
Well, we've started there's a website that's out there. It's called keepwaterlocal.org. That will be continually updated. It'll have new stuff on, but really need to get a hold of your state representatives, you know, Mr. Representative Dyson, Representative Wharton, and then our Senator Schwartner as well. Call them up. There's links to do that. Let them know. Talk to our governor as well. This needs to be figured out in a state level. They did this with oil and gas 100 years ago, and they said the oil and gas industry will be bankrupt if we don't fix this thing. And clearly, we have not banked the oil and gas industry. They were able to fix this, and it's basically if you have 5 landowners and you have 2 that want to conserve and you have 3 that want to take as much out, that whether it be oil or gas or water, that's all under those 5 entities. Whoever's pulling that water out is pulling them out from the whole pool. So right now, the way they're doing this thing, it does not lead for any conservation. It leads to you're going to want to take as much as you can. He's going to want to take as much because it's the asset that's raising money. So we've got to figure out a conservation plan. We've got to figure out how do we do this, because we're going to be dealing with this for a long time. Well,
that leads me exactly to my next point, is what are those next steps forward? I know this is something that we're going to be dealing with for some time, so what are those next steps?
Well, I think we need to take a good look at our conservation districts, our groundwater districts. I think, first of all, we probably need to not call them a conservation district. We need to call them an allocation district, because they allocate the water out. There's not a whole lot of stuff for conservation, except if you're trying to figure out how do you recapture rainwater or do, you know, things that aren't going to make as much difference as actually conserving the aquifer that we have right now. That's the right here, right now kind of thing. But they're regulated by the state, and the state sets the rules, and they're abiding by those rules right now. It's got to be fixed on the state level at this point. Really, you know, the citizens need to get involved. You see things, you know, we've seen these drought conditions we've had recently where we have to curtail water, and, you know, College Station, Wixom Water, you know, Wellborn Water, we're curtailing water, and we were shipping, Brazos County, we're shipping water and sending water to them, or City of Bryan, I'm sorry, was sending water to the different entities to keep everybody up and going. But at some point, you know, we were even having to go, okay, now we got to stop that a little bit, because now we're running out for our allocations. It's going to be everybody getting together. Obviously, conservation is a big deal from your own household and everything else, but we've got to figure out how do we maintain these aquifers where they can recharge themselves and do the things they can do without exploiting everything. Right now, as much as you can get out is the more money you're going to make. And these, you know, they're not really looking to make sure that we have an economic benefit and we can rely on ourselves forever. They're in San Francisco. They could care less what they do. They want our money and they want our water.
And we will be sure to have more information about how people can get involved on our website. Be sure to have those links. But Bobby, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and break down these issues for us.
Sure, it was my pleasure. Anytime.
We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.